Welcome to Santaroga Surplus. This is the Polish P64 pistol disassembly and reassembly project. And this is video number 3. We're going to be working on the slide. Once again, this is the last of the reshoots. I had everything running out of frame up on the top on the original video, so I'm going to try to redo this where you can actually see what we're doing. And what we are doing is taking the components of the slide off. You've got the ejector with a spring and a pin, and the pin helps hold it together. And then you've got the loaded chamber indicator, which operates when a round is in the chamber against the bolt face. It pushes that out. That comes out at the very end because it is held in by a little horseshoe anvil pin kind of thing that sits under the safety barrel. You got the firing pin, which is going to come out with the safety barrel, of course, and that has a detente pin and spring sitting in here that are very easy to lose. You also have a rear sight. We're not going to take the rear sight off. It's just not something I feel like we really need to do at this time. That's better light. There is usually a witness mark on the slide that with a magnifying glass you can tell where they've zeroed the rear sight. Again, we're not particularly worried about that at this time. You just use a pusher tool to push it off to the side and put it back on. The extractor, is very easy. It operates like this. It hinges. There's a pin here and a pin here that ride on rails inside the slide. Okay? And so it hinges, and what keeps it pressed forward is this pin, which is round most of the way down, except there's a flat spot on the inside that rests on the inside part of this extractor, and then there's a spring. To take that out, you very simply push the pin in far enough to rotate the extractor. And you're actually going to rotate it in towards the chamber. Yep. You know, I can do this all day when I'm not videoing, and then when I start the video. Once you get it past the rear of the extractor, see, that you can hinge that up, and then the whole thing comes forward. Once again, this rides on rails. You see the little pins. Okay, slides in there, and then you have the pin and the spring. There's your spring, and I just made this pin fly out of my hand because I'm doing really good today. You'll see that the pin has a flat side. That's going to go on the inside. So when you put this back together, you obviously put the spring in, then you put the pin in, okay? And you want the flat part of the pin to face roughly inside, okay? And then when you put this in, that's going to press against here when it clicks in. So I'm going to take that out for a moment. Stay there. We're going to zoom in quite a bit. Okay. The extractor, like I say, there's 2 pins here. So when you put it in, and the spring's not there right now, you want to do it facing really far in and get it on those grooves. And then the whole thing, there's a hollow in the slide for the back part of the extractor. See that button there? Goes in there. So, spring into the hole. Okay? Pin with the flat part facing roughly in. And I hope you can see that. Then you're going to get this set up. It's a little bit weird because you have to kind of put your fingers through the ejection port. And at this point, I use a screwdriver and I push that pin in carefully because you don't want to send it flying. Once this is in the grooves, you can literally push it down okay, I'm trying to show you that. You can literally keep pushing it down and push it in and the whole thing will click and there you go. You have the extractor. And I hope that you can see that. So we're going to take it out again and put it off to the side. Again, push the pin in until you get past the rear of the extractor. Rotate the extractor. And then the whole thing just comes right out. Set that off to the side. Next thing you need to do is take out the firing pin and safety barrel. Now, the safety has detents that click on and off. You're going to want it to be halfway, okay? First, you have to pull the firing pin down to clear everything. Firing pin has a horizontal bar that comes off to this side, and that catches in here, so when you put safety on, you can't push the firing pin forward. With the safety off, you can. So that horizontal bar is not just a retainer, it's also part of your safety. So you're going to push the firing pin forward, put your safety half on, okay? Then you can let go. And then you're going to just gently pop the barrel out a little bit, which I usually just do while still holding the safety pin because I think it's a little nicer on the machine. But there you go. Once it starts, you want to be careful because that detent in there is going to want to fly out. So I put my hand over it and just pry it a little more until I hear that click. Okay? Now, hold the firing pin again. Okay? Whole barrel comes out. Detent pin and the spring's still in there. We're going to let the firing pin out. Firing pin spring, detent, detent spring. These are the grooves that it goes into. Okay? So those are pretty deep. That detent pin goes way in there. So it's very hard. That's why you have to have the safety half on to get it in and out. Okay? Now, your loaded chamber indicator, which pops back out that way, is held in, has a spring, and it's held in with this little horseshoe-shaped thing. It looks like a lozenge here in the slide. My lighting's all messed up today. But basically, if you tap it, it'll either loosen up and you can see it, or it'll come out. And that's what it is right there, okay? It's that little horseshoe-shaped thing right there. We'll move it back a little bit. Then, you can take the whole thing out. That is your loaded chamber indicator. The slanted part faces into the middle of the bolt face when it goes back in, okay? And it's a spring, it's captive. I'm sure there's a pin or it's threaded or something. I've never actually taken it off, so maybe that's one of the things we're just not going to deal with because I don't see a reason. That's it. Now we're going to go ahead and put that back in, put this all back together right now. So you want to slide it into the hole that it goes in, okay? And it'll go all the way down and poke out the back, and you can pull it way out, right? You just want to make sure the slanted surface in there is facing into the center of the bolt face. Okay, then you're going to take a pair of needle nose pliers. You're going to grab the anvil piece. And you're going to put it, let me redo that a little bit. I don't know if I'm totally in frame. There's your loaded chamber indicator. It has a hole right down the slide, right through the slide. You just put it in. You want the slanted part facing towards the center of the bolt face. So that's pretty easy. You're going to take your keeper in needle nose pliers, and you're going to get it to go into its slot. It's not going to go into its slot all the way because there's a spring in the way. So what you do is you more or less carefully push until you see the edge of the barrel, the actual shiny part, okay? Once you see that, you want to get a very thin bladed screwdriver in there and catch the edge of the spring and then push the loaded chamber indicator back while pushing down, angling down. Okay, and after a couple of tries, if you're careful and you have good light, you will catch it at the right point. Push. And you'll be able to push that anvil down. And there you go. Once the anvil is down, and it popped out. That has actually never happened to me before. So we're going to do this one more time. I can see the edge of the barrel through that little witness hole right there. That's where I'm going to stick my screwdriver. Catch the last coil of the spring. Start pushing back. I'm getting a little twisted, so I'm going to straighten out my angle here. Push it back and angle down with the screwdriver. And then sometimes you just have to push a little extra. This is one of the more difficult slides to work on, so I had to push it down a little extra. Now it's in there. Everything's in there. To keep it in there, of course, you're going to put the safety barrel back in. And to do that, you're going to have to start with the detente spring. Now, I have had this particular spring be really messed up on some pistols. I've actually had to clip a coil off because it was all bent up and everything. Same thing, everyone's seen this on ARs. So, put that in, make sure it's in. Okay, and then put the detente right in there, and it didn't stay. The detente, quite often, has a little bit of trouble wanting to stand up there because it's right on the very edge of the hole. Okay? And that is the main problem I have with reassembly of the slide, is on some of these, with the messed up springs, even if you clip a coil, you're right there on the very edge. Firing pin and spring go right in their slot. Remember that you've got this horizontal bar that has to face towards the safety. Okay? and not towards the ejection port. Now you got to kind of find the hole, all right? Once you find the whole thing will go down. You're going to need to get your screwdriver and actually push your firing pin down. There it is. Now it's in the hole. Okay, you got to hold it down long enough to get your safety started in. And then once again, it's halfway between safe and not safe. Now you can let go of the firing pin, but now you have to get that detente pin to go down and go into its hole a little bit better. And this is honestly the hard part, and it came completely out, but you'll see everything's there right now. Okay, so even if you have to do this 8 or 10 times, which has happened to me, there it is. Now if I can get it to go in a little bit, all I'm going to do is push on the safety. As long as you hold a little tension on the safety, that pin's not going to come back out. So you can wiggle it in a little further. Okay, once you get the safety to this point, okay, and this is the point where it's starting to be pushed back into the rear part of the slide, then, okay, you push on the barrel and it just clicks right in. You're still in half safe. Now your detente works fine. Okay, that is the whole entire rear half put back together. Once again, your extractor, spring in the hole, pin in the hole with the flat facing inboard, roughly. It'll straighten itself out, but you have to get it part way. That was completely the wrong direction. Inboard. Make sure you can push it down. Get your extractor ready to go on its grooves. Push down on that pin. Get the extractor in there. Push and click. That is a slide. Hopefully you could see that one. It works. Have a good one.